Welcome to Tales of the Training Room, Sandler edition. You know, today we're having a conversation around intellectual versus emotional conversations. You know you're in an intellectual conversation when you start paying attention to the words prospects use. You might hear things like, we're looking at, we're thinking about, we're wondering, we're spending some time considering, and we're researching, we're analyzing, and we're interested in learning about. Those are very intellectual in nature. We know in sales that people buy emotionally and justify on fact, meaning when we're having intellectual conversations, if we can't change the context, it's only going to lead to one thing. It's going to lead all the way down, a race to the bottom, and it's going to come down to price. Intellectual connection, there's nothing there except for price. So we get a lot of think it overs, and we get a lot of commodity style conversations. If we can change the dynamic and get it to be more emotional, now there's a connection, there's some kind of an impact to them. And that's our goal, is trying to figure that out. So the question is, knowing we want to have emotional conversations, how do we do it? Well, one way is, as a salesperson, you absolutely need to be curious. Even if this is your 1500th sales call and you already know all the problems, you still need to be curious, and we need to dig deeper. And when we can dig deeper, people have the opportunity to self-discover. When they self-discover, we can start to get emotions in. And when we start to get into emotional, we're going to start hearing words like frustrated, disappointed, concerned, when they're worried about. Now we are in the right conversations. So as an example, we might hear a prospect say something like, hey, when can you have that completed? Pretty simple, innocuous question. We should be able to just answer them. But if we were curious, we might answer that and say something like, hey, Mr. Prospect, when do you need it? And as that conversation starts to develop, it might say something like, well, I was hoping to have it by Friday. Can you do that? Now, again, that's interesting. You pick Friday. So as a salesperson, if I'm curious, hey, Mr. Prospect, what's happening on Friday? Well, we've got a big client coming in on Monday, and we need your solution for them. So if you look at what happened, our intellectual conversation of when can you have it completed, I start digging in. Hey, I was hoping to have it by Friday. Hey, I got a big client coming in on Monday, so we need it for then. As you can see, the intellectual, we're starting to dig deeper, getting to emotional. I see. So you've got a client coming in on Monday. How big of a deal is it if you don't have it by Monday for your client? Now we've dug really deep, and now I'm going to get one of two things. I'm going to hear an answer that says, you know what? It's not a big deal, or man, that is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. All of a sudden, we're into the emotions. When I find out it's a big, massive deal, they're not worrying about price anymore. We're out of the intellectual, we're out of the race to the bottom, and we're having the right conversations. Hopefully this helps you guys. Happy selling.